From the farthest reaches of the galaxy, the Midwest, you're watching Beyond the Blast Doors live.
Happy Monday, everybody. It is January 14th, 2019, and Beyond the Blast Doors episode 54 is underway. Thank you so much for joining me on this day. It's a different looking set, it's a different looking me, and it's just me. We have had a pounding of snow in the Midwest, and to give you some perspective, when you live in the Midwest and you get 15 inches of snow, and you live in a community that has less than 10 plows, it is rather challenging to bury, or rather to dig your buried car out of the snow. So in the Midwest, people get 15 inches, they freak. People in the Northeast just laugh at us because they get that like all the time. So anyway, so glad we can be in this moment together. I went with a different setup for this because it's a different kind of show. It's a little bit more casual. It's a little bit more relaxed. I'm going to be jumping into live chat a lot in this episode because it's kind of a slow week for Star Wars news. Still got some gems, still got some good stuff to talk about, but I can definitely take some time to make sure I'm giving you guys the appropriate amount of attention you deserve in the live chat. We already have someone jumping in there right now, Discovery Bay Comics, who does a tremendous job. There is a comic book community on YouTube, and it seems like it's growing by the dozens daily. And he spends every morning breaking down all the new content that is coming out and has done a tremendous job. And it's like a Jimmy Fallon type setup in the sense that it looks like a late night talk show set. And then he's just breaking down what all these YouTube creators are creating in regards to comic book content. So Discovery Bay, great job. Thanks again for being such a great supporter of the show. Really appreciate you. And I'm just going to encourage you, while you watch this episode, to jump into the live chat. I want this to be a very interactive episode. And even if you're watching this on the rewind, I want you to comment as much as possible down below the video. We are trying to go above and beyond responding to your comment and really try and break down that conversation in the comment section, because that's our promise. You know, when we tell people about Beyond the Blast Doors, we want you to go to us for the latest in Star Wars movie news, TV news, the books, the comics, the toys, the cosplay. We want that kind of comprehensive Star Wars conversation, and we can do that by hanging out, whether it's in the live chat during the live stream or if it's in the comment section down below when you catch us on the rewind. As always, please smash that thumbs up button if you haven't already. Hit subscribe, ring the bell as well, so that way you can be the first to know when we drop new videos or we go live, maybe for our weekly episode like we are right now. Like I've mentioned, we got a few things to talk about. Star Wars Resistance Season 2 gets greenlit for Disney XD. We're going to be going into the comics. Shout out to Qui-Gon Jinn for getting a reprint, which is kind of a big deal because there's a story going on around right now that's circulating within the last 24 hours that Marvel Star Wars sales are down. Marvel comic sales in general are down. And a lot of people are crediting that to just oversaturation of lines. You know, I think I like the variety of Star Wars comics, and we'll get into this in Pages, Pixels, and Pieces. I like the variety, but some people think that it's too much. I think if you look at just the Marvel lines, it's way too much to keep track of. There are too many lines out there for one reader, let alone a collector, to follow, and then you throw in all the variant covers. It becomes a mess. So we'll dive into that a little bit. And also, apparently, your ticket prices at Disney World and Disneyland are going up because Disney sees this as an opportunity to spike them amid the opening of Galaxy's Edge, which is the theme park that will be opening later this year. Of course, I believe there's also the that immersive hotel that they're building as well. It's a Star Wars themed hotel that you can go and stay at, and then you can go to the Star Wars park, and they're going to get every dollar out of you by the time you leave. So we'll talk about that too. I'm sure the park is going to be great. We're all going to go. Who's going to lie about this? Before we jump into real talk, I want to hit up the live chat one more time because again, this is my promise to you. I want to be as interactive as possible on this episode. Looks like I have Spectacular Spider Grandpa joining. He says, "Hey, what's up?" And then he's having a conversation with Discovery Bay. So this is great. Glad that everyone's in the chat having fun. And let's go ahead and get started. And before we do, I just want to remind you that you can always follow Beyond the Blast Doors on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you haven't, hit that subscribe button. I think we just got over 740 subscribers. And our goal, and we're doing everything we can, including more diverse content here on the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by April 9th. That is our goal. And we're going to have a contest announcement pretty soon. It's a giveaway that will have it'll be like comment on every video or something. It's going to be very simple rules. But that's just one example of what we're trying to do. And that's along with the Lego Live builds and the cosplay reviews and, I mean, you name it. We're trying to do a second show on the channel that is just comic book talk. Everything we're doing here is just trying to give you more diverse Star Wars content, keeping that promise of what we offer here at Beyond the Blast Doors, and also helping us get to that 1,000 mark. Why do we want to hit that 1,000? It's simply because of the features that unlock with 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Of course, you have to have, a certain number of hours watched, but the goal is to get some features unlocked so that way we can better share and distribute our content. So that's the goal. So without further ado, if you watch Star Wars on a screen, so it can be a movie, it can be a TV show, if you can watch it on a screen, we're talking about it in Real Talk. And Real Talk, the first segment for our show, and this is the only topic in Real Talk this week, mainly because Episode 9, here's where we are. They're still in production, probably going to be wrapped up by the end of next month. Nothing really new out there. There was some sweet swag that cast members got, like a jacket, and some people think that it's a hint going back to Tatooine. That's a topic that I decided I would save for next week when I could have Jesse and David back. So this week, we're going to focus on Star Wars Resistance. Star Wars Resistance gets a second season, and we got a mid-season trailer for the rest of Season 1 just a couple of days ago. And the Disney Channel just announced this, like I said, that the series Star Wars Resistance gets that green light, fall 29 premiere for Season 2, and that mid-season trailer was epic. We got to see a very familiar major villain from Force Awakens, and I think you should say Last Jedi, but he was kind of a punching doll. Hux. Hux was in that trailer, and, we have a quote here we'll get to real quick, but this is just kind of reaffirming everything that I said. So this is from the Star Wars account. Series follows Kaz, a young pilot recruited by the Resistance for a top-secret mission to spy on the growing threat of the First Order. Season 1 continued last night. Had that first episode of the second half last night. It was on Disney Channel, Disney Now. Mid-season 1 trailer for Star Wars Resistance is out there, and of course it features Hux. So that's what I told you. But I always like to use the quotes they provide, just because I think it kind of helps produce this thing out a little bit. But yeah, let's talk about it. So first off, the mid-season trailer is showing a lot of First Order presence, and that really excites me. In case you didn't see, on the channel about 2 days ago, I actually sat down and I did a reaction and a mild review of the trailer. Just watched it all the way through, gave a little commentary with it, and really enjoyed myself. And I even went as far as saying that was the most fun I've had watching Star Wars Resistance was this trailer, because my complaint with the first half of the season, is that there were no stakes. It was very much a tangent of the main storyline. And I like seeing other stories happening in the Star Wars galaxy while the main events are happening. So while the movie events are happening, we're kind of over here and looking on and seeing and I like that. But for much of this first half of Season 1, it felt like we were in our own world, and it was not connected to what was going on. We got little moments, Phasma popping up on the screen. That was nice, but it wasn't enough. You got Kylo Ren shuttle came in a couple times. I think we saw him once, but usually it's Phasma walking off the shuttle. So it's like yeah, I get it, and we have Oscar Isaac back as Poe, but it doesn't feel like we're really connected to that larger scope. That's the feeling, though, I get when I watch this mid-season trailer. I really like, first off, the art. The show looks the same, but when you have more Star Destroyers, Starkiller Base, more First Order Stormtrooper helmets, you get the gleam. There's a lot of pretty shots. There's this one where it looks like Colossus gets submerged in the water. That's gorgeous. Kind of reminds me of Camino in a way. But it feels like we're on track. We are going to feel repercussions of what's happening in the galaxy. The scene that steals that whole trailer is when Hux is speaking to all those troopers on Starkiller Base, which we still assume is Elam, but we're not sure. Elam is the planet where, in Legends, the Jedi would go, and that's where they would find their Kyber crystal. And I think we did go to Elam in the Clone Wars, too. But he's giving that speech. Well, apparently that speech was televised across the galaxy, and we get to see Kaz and a couple others on Colossus watching that same speech Hux gives, that Hitler-like speech from a Starkiller base. And to me, that was a great moment. And I got some chills, and it felt like Star Wars. And I'm pumped to see what they do in the second half of Season 1. Because, like I said, it feels like there's stakes, repercussions for what's going on in the rest of the galaxy. Our characters are more tied to that, and they should. You know, Kaz is a spy. They're unlucky. You know, if you might go back to the previous episode, Station Theta Black, you know, they find this mining facility. They end up blowing it up because it has proof. But, you know, now we get in the second half. It looks like we're going to see some of the destruction that Starkiller Base is aware of. So there's going to be test firings of Starkiller Base. I mean, this is going to give us also a better understanding of how we got to The Force Awakens. So that really excites me. So you've watched maybe the mid-season trailer, and if you haven't already, go ahead and check out that video right now on our Beyond the Blast Doors channel. It's about 3 or 4 minutes, not that long. So check that out. Be sure you drop a comment down below. Now, if you have seen the trailer already, maybe you watched that trailer review with me, comment down below, get into the live chat, and let me know what you think about that trailer. Would be really interested to knowing what you think. And also, did you watch last night's episode? Bebo is the name of episode 11. And it was a soft start. You know, I wanted to praise the trailer first because I felt like this episode was a soft start to the second half of the season. You spent so much time teasing the First Order in the second half of Season 1, and we got basically a fish that Niku seems to enjoy, and then this bigger fish, there's always a bigger fish, becomes like a threat for Colossus, the station where they're all at, this racing station. And so the climax of the episode is the Aces scramble themselves, and Kaz is told not to be a part of the episode, you know, not to be part of the fight. He ends up being part of the fight. He ends up saving one of the fighters from crashing and dying. You know, he eases them in the water, and then it goes right back to Kaz not really having much of influence on the season. So, as much joy as I just had in this conversation, this episode was a little bit of a setback for me. But I know what's going to come. I'm invested in it, and I'm honestly addicted now to finding out what happens by the end of Season 1, especially knowing that there are enough people obviously watching this series for them to give the green light for Season 2. So I look forward to seeing how the series also matures, how the character matures. We know that Kaz has got an updated haircut, you know, and this is something that we saw with Ezra. You know, there's a maturity with Ezra. There's a maturity that we got with Star Wars Rebels. You can make the same argument for Clone Wars. The first season of Clone Wars was not well received by a lot of fans. They felt it was too childish. They felt there were pacing issues. Dave Filoni was trying to figure out where he was, you know, as far as a director, you know, helping write this project. You know, they had to get some kinks out, and we all know how Clone Wars ended. You know, Clone Wars saved. We get the final season on Disney Plus at the end of this year. You know, it's going to be an epic end to 2019 because you're going to get Episode 9. You're going to get the streaming service open, and you're going to get your first taste, if not all the episodes, some of the episodes of The Mandalorian and Clone Wars. And then 2020, guess what you get? You get Cassian Andor, and maybe an Obi-Wan movie. I don't know. We'll talk about that later. What do you think about the chances of Star Wars Resistance pulling you in? What do you think about the emphasis on the First Order, seeing the Hux speech, seeing Starkiller Base, more Star Destroyers in space? Do you like that? Does that get you into this series, or have you already been invested in the series? I want you to let me know in the live chat. I want you to let me know down in the comments below. And now let's go over into live chat. Let's see what everyone is doing right now. We have Discovery Bay Comics, way too much coming from Marvel, and the variant covers are out of control, he says. There was a cover, I'm pretty sure this was Comics with Bueller is another dude who is in the comic book community, and he just lost a very close person in his life, and you know, you send the positive vibes and the prayers his way, because I think he needs them, and but it's fun to see him back on YouTube, and he did this video, I think it was like last week or the week before. There was some book that had 20 variant covers. I'm not joking. Like, it went down the alphabet. I think he hit S. That's insane. And if you're a collector, do you get all 20 of those covers? I'm not sure. I wouldn't spend the money to do that. John Boffman in here. John Boffman, want to shout him out, a proud Patreon supporter, supporting me all the way from Florida. And I say me. He supports me. He supports David, Jesse, the show. Really appreciate your investment in the show as our Patreon supporter. And if you want to be a Patreon supporter at home, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/Beyond the Blast Doors, and you can support our show, help us grow for as little as $2 a month. Pretty cool opportunity there. But John Boffman, our Patreon supporter, says, after that midseason trailer, we had to catch up. Station Theta Black was good. Got to see a TIE fighter blow up. Yeah, I think the best part of that, I mean, there's a lot of good part of Station Theta Black. I thought that was a great episode to end that first half on because, you know, Poe and Kaz land into this mining facility that the First Order had built in this, like, asteroid field. And I'm really starting to get into this art style of the show. I was really skeptical at first. If you go back to previous episodes, I talked about it quite a bit. I just was not feeling it. You know, I liked the look of the Clone Wars. I grew to like Rebels because it kind of felt like a more smooth version of Clone Wars, not as many hard angles. But this is completely different, and it didn't feel like it had the detail that I was hoping this anime-styled Star Wars show would have. But it's definitely grown on me, especially when those X-Wings are flying into the bay to drop off Poe and Kaz, and then when they return, when Poe and Kaz are trying to get away from Phasma. Very cool. Very cool. Fun episode. Had to rewatch it last night to get me ready for the episode 11, that Bebo that we just talked about. So, John, thank you for that. John also says he has chills when Hux was doing his thing. After the chills went away, I thought about how tremendous that performance and direction was on The Force Awakens. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I love the Hux character in The Force Awakens because it kind of identifies with, I think, a lot of younger people in the sense that maybe you have an accomplished parent or you've lived in someone's shadow and you're trying to make a name for yourself. And I feel like that's what he's trying to do in The Force Awakens. He's trying to keep Kylo Ren at a distance, but keep tabs on him. He wants to impress Snoke. You later learn that Hux had a very accomplished father with the First Order who was responsible for training this First Order stormtroopers. And so, like, he lives in the shadow and he's trying to make a name for himself. And we definitely went away from that in The Last Jedi. You couldn't tell the passion. I mean, he just kind of is a scapegoat, and he's a beating bag. And I felt like that was a character that really regressed in The Last Jedi. And he's one of the characters why I feel like The Last Jedi just isn't a cohesive follow-up to The Force Awakens because it's honestly like he's trying to play two different characters. But I really like the Hux that we got in The Force Awakens. And even though he's for the bad guys, and he might not be bad from your point of view, the First Order might be the good guys from your point of view. He's definitely passionate about the cause, and I think that's what made that the character even more fun. So, John, thank you for all the comments in the live chat. Discovery Bay Comics, particular Spider Grandpa, thank you so much for hanging out with me in the live chat. Be sure you keep commenting down below as we keep going through this, and let's keep encouraging folks to say what their thoughts are in the live chat. Having a lot of fun. But that is going to do it for Real Talk. Real Talk, the segment where if it's on the screen, we're watching it. I need to get a drink of water. My water bottle is not on my desk right now. So I'm going to run you a 20-second commercial break, and I'll be right back with Pages, Pixels, Pieces right here on Beyond the Blast Doors, episode 54.
All wings report in. Brand new Beyond the Blast Door collector pins are now in stock. Help spread the word about the Beyond the Blast Door Star Wars conversation by picking up a brand new exclusive show pin. Pins are only $8. Order and pay online at BeyondTheBlastDoors.com. Movies, TV, comics, toys, cosplay. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.
And we are back just like that. Pages, Pixels, Pieces on a Monday morning. I'm really enjoying being live on Monday morning. It's 12:10 right now. I go into work about 1:30, but it allowed me to do some fine-tuning this morning when I woke up early, and now we're able to get right into the show. And I'm having a lot of fun. If I ever have to do a solo show again, this is how I want to do it. I want to remind you that this segment and show is brought to you by the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri. We're really proud here to have our local comic book shop as our official sponsor. Comics, collectibles, toys, Magic the Gathering, board games. The Fantasy Shop in St. Louis. It's in Maplewood. proudly serving St. Louis since 1981, proudly serving our show, our channel, as our sponsor for the last several months. So always glad to have those guys with us. And we start where we're going to start every time, which is with the comic books. And a packed week, this past week, 2 big comics that came out. We also got the Dr. Aphra Volume 4 trade paperback released. I didn't cover that. We've covered those comics already. But if you want the trade paperback for Volume 4, if you follow Dr. Aphra, you can get that. But we got Jango Fett, the single shot, Age of Republic. Jody Houser crushed it. And it's because of her writing in these Age of Republic videos or in these comics that I'm making videos again where I'm, if I have a question or I think there's something really interesting about something that we learned in the comics, or there's just like a general canon topic or question, I'm going to make videos to answer those. So there's a couple people that already do that on YouTube. I'm trying to do it my own way. And if it works, it works. And as long as I think you're watching those videos and you're learning something from it, then it's worth my time. So Jango Fett number 1, we got Star Wars 59, Star Wars Adventures, Destroyer Down number 3. It's you can tell from the comic that I always put on the top of the pile which one we are going to spend the most time on, and that's no disrespect. There's just comics that I think are more intriguing to those who want to spend the time to read the comics, to follow the canon, or you don't have time to read the comics, so you watch the show just to get caught up on what's going on, and that's totally fine. Age of Republic, you know that we've been talking about for the last couple of months, this maxi series. There's going to be like 29, I think, comics overall between the Age of Republic, Rebellion, and Resistance. Right now, we're the Age of Republic, and Jody Houser is taking the lead on these comics and just absolutely crushing it, whether it was Obi-Wan, whether it was the Qui-Gon Jinn comic. She's doing a great job, and this Jango Fett number 1 is stellar. I had such a fun time reading this book, and I didn't play the Bounty Hunter game from 2002, and you get some some insight into how Dooku met Jango Fett. Clone Wars, he talks about how he met this guy named Tyrannus, but we get to see that place. Some people are upset because they think that the video game has truly been retconned because in the video game, Dooku hires Jango Fett to track down a Dark Jedi and gives him like 5 million credits or something. I don't know. The credit amount is kind of meaningless, but it's to track down this dude, and it's kind of like a test of his skill to see if Jango Fett would make the ideal template for the clone trooper army. So that's the whole point of the comic book, is that we get into this, and I'll show. Whoa, that's the wrong comic. There's the right comic. I'll show you what takes place in this book. So let me preface this with the whole point of this comic really is kind of an explanation of how Jango Fett and Dooku meet, how Jango becomes the template for the clone army. But it's also kind of like a father and son story. This is, I think, one of the early missions where Jango brings Boba along to train him, to get his skill going. And we're introduced to this random band of bounty hunters. Jango and Boba flying around. Jango's asking, why can't we just take the jobs we want? And he explains, you have to earn that ability. And then we get right into it where on the moons of Bogdan, Jango meets this clouded, this hooded figure. It's Dooku, or Tyrannus as he's referred to. And I actually do a video on the YouTube channel. I did this a couple of days ago. And like I said, because of this comic and what Jody Houser has done with these single shots, I want to make these videos again. I did a video taking a look specifically at the history of Jango and how he did become that template for the clone troopers. But that's just a small portion of this comic. The majority of this portion is explaining how Jango and Boba, how he was able to get Boba to be his son, and making that deal, that one unaltered clone to be his son. And you see throughout this comic that Boba displays the skill that, if refined, could meet or surpass what Jango Fett has done. And he's pretty good with a blaster. It's actually kind of funny. You'll see here on a panel or two that Boba actually gets the blaster from one of these other bounty hunters. It's just kind of fascinating. And there's a sense of pride that you see Jango display for Boba. He's proud of him, how this encounter with these bounty hunters went. And it's a test, and it's to trust your instinct and your gut and setting forth the legacy. So it's pretty interesting. And if you haven't checked it out already, I hope that you do, because it is well worth your time. By the way, shout out Black Mandalorian joining us in the live chat. Just subscribe to our channel today. He's saying the good old Midwest, keep comic book shops alive. Absolutely support your local comic book shop. And we'll support our LCSs right now by telling you about another Star Wars comic that you need to pick up off the shelves if you haven't already. Star Wars number 59. I have had a love and less love relationship, not a love-hate relationship, love and less love relationship with the Star Wars main run. And this is probably one of the arcs I've enjoyed the most, just because I feel like the art is coming around. I enjoy what Gillen does with the writing. But in case you haven't been paying attention, our band of rebels are on this farm, this Star Warsified 1950s farm planet. And they've been here for months, and Luke's trying to find his way off the planet. Leia's trying to find a way to get back at Queen Trios for sabotaging the rebellion and almost getting everyone killed by Vader and the Empire. They all kind of converge. It turns out that the beacon that Luke set off has alerted people to Hubin, which is this planet they're on, and it brings some unlikely guests. And what I mean by unlikely is unwanted. Because you see this Tidarian shuttle land, and you're like, oh, I wonder who that could be. Oh, that's a different looking. I've never seen one with the red stripe before. And then you're trying to go through your head, who could this possibly be? If it's not Vader, the last people you want to see show up on your door is the Scar Squadron. And it's these stormtroopers that are decked out in kind of more advanced armor, more advanced weapons. I'm not a big fan of the leader of the Scar Squadron. He wields a green lightsaber. And I just feel like that's not consistent with, how could a stormtrooper under Vader be allowed to have a lightsaber? That just doesn't seem to work. But the reason why they actually were able to find Han, Leia, and Luke was because they have Son of Saros. And so it's a pride thing. At this point, there's going to be a battle that ensues. But then, Luke, Han, Leia, they get stunned. And, Luke actually dodges it. And they have to follow the planet customs and the tradition to prove their valor and their loyalty is to have a duel. And so here you are, a Stormtrooper and Luke going up against each other with a lightsaber for a lightsaber battle. And, it's cool to see Scar Squadron show up. To me, it's kind of like the Commandos video games. I kind of put them in that group. I'd like to follow Scar Squadron do their own thing and not necessarily collide with our main group, and it's fine. I think I'm so iffy on it just because I don't like the idea of just this random trooper having the saber. To me, it makes no sense, and maybe there's gonna be some explanation down the road about who the identity of this stormtrooper is, why he can wield it. But I do like seeing Luke and the opportunity in between A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Seeing him use a lightsaber, that makes me really happy. You can see by that panel, and it's going to come around here in just a second again, Luke looks pretty uncomfortable holding that saber, but I like the idea that he is getting more experience wielding it. He's not the most apt swordsman when he duels Vader on Cloud City, but I like the idea that he's getting reps, and he's getting some kind of training, and he's getting to, he's having to learn how to use his saber to get himself to that point to take on Vader. So, to me, that worked out pretty well. But again, I think my main distraction with this issue is the fact that we're kind of in purgatory with the storyline. According to Matt Martin on Twitter, who's part of the story group, this comic puts us more closer to Empire Strikes Back, further away from A New Hope. So it's about 1 or 2 years, I think he said, after the Battle of Yavin. So just kind of ready to get closer. The story that I really want to see? I want to see what happened when Han met that bounty hunter on Ord Mantell. I hope that's a comic that we get here in the future, because I think that would be a lot of fun for folks. So that's my take on Star Wars 59. I really gave you the Diet Coke version of that because there's a couple goodies that you can experience for yourself when you go and pick up that book if you haven't already. Last book for this week was the IDW book, Star Wars Adventures Destroyer Down. You might remember several weeks ago that I reviewed this comic, and I reviewed the second one just because we wanted to make sure we were doing a better job of covering the main lines, but then also IDW puts out so much as well. And so this is picking up where that second one is, where Rey's digging around this old Star Destroyer, and we're getting these flashbacks of this Y-Wing rebel/resistance pilot. I guess at this point it would have been Rebellion, but it's like a flashback to seeing that pilot and his mission, and he's trying to bring down the destroyer that Rey's actually exploring right now. And so it's a continuation of that. You're seeing this on your screen right now, and it's just kind of interesting to see how, this is Rey pretending that she's a Y-Wing pilot until a droid comes down that looks like K2S2 and starts smashing the visor there. It's not really integral to the plot. It doesn't really influence anything. It doesn't really increase your experience watching The Force Awakens. But this is a comic that is geared to younger readers, and this gives them a story with characters that they identify with. And I think if you got a kiddo that wants to follow the Star Wars comics and you don't think that they're ready for the main lines, this is a great opportunity for you to let them dive into more Star Wars stories. But I think if it were me, I would probably still just have my kiddo read the main line. That's just me. Not telling you how to do your job. You know your kid better than I do. Let's talk about comics coming out next week. This is going to be, I want to double check the date here. This is going to be the 16th that these books come out. And you're getting the reprint of Qui-Gon Jinn, like I mentioned earlier in the show. Congratulations to Jody Houser and team, because the Qui-Gon single shot was exceptional. It makes me want, if not a Qui-Gon movie, I'd love a Qui-Gon TV show. Disney streaming service, I'm sure it would work great on. If I can't get that, give me an ongoing series with Qui-Gon Jinn. If you've given Vader 2 25-issue runs, give Qui-Gon one. I mean, why not? He's probably one of the characters people want to explore the most. I could see like a Dooku one being very popular, which we'll get here in the comics. I could see a young Palpatine comic being also very successful, but I think if you do young Palpatine, you best make that a 10-episode series on Disney Plus. If you want to make a lot of money, Disney. We'll talk about that idea a little later on in Staying on Target, or rather Stash It or Blasted. Stash It or Blasted is where we're going to talk about a couple of fan requests for movies or series, and that's going to be a fun segment. I'm looking forward to that. We also get Age of Republic special. You have the variant cover there with Asajj Ventress, and then you got the A cover behind there with Rex and Jar Jar. Apparently Jar Jar and Rex go on a mission together, so that'll be fun, I suppose. We've seen Mace Windu and Jar Jar go on a couple of missions together in the Clone Wars. So are any of these books you going to pick up? I hope you pick up these Age of Republic books because they are special. Not to be like punny, but it's been a series that I've really had a lot of pleasure staying up to date on. And I think every issue so far has complemented the character that you see on screen, whether that's in movie or in TV. I want to jump into live chat real quick. Black Mandalorian says, best Star Wars comic art I've seen has been Dark Times. Simply incredible. I'd agree with you there. Would love to see the main line get to that level, and I think Angel is doing a great job with the art with the main Star Wars line. It's honestly a vast improvement from what Salvador LaRocca was doing, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, really enjoy his art. Have enjoyed a lot of his art over the years, but his faces just were not doing it for me when it came to the main line, and so that's probably why I say I had a less love relationship with the series, is because unless it was like a real critical issue, I wasn't picking it up. That's just what happened. And before we wrap up the comics portion, I do want to just throw out there again that I had mentioned that Marvel was reporting sales were down. Here's a quote that I'll just read real quick from. This is from a Star Wars. This is an article that details the profits that were down. I'm getting this from James Burns, and this is from the Jedi News .co website. So they do pretty good work over there. Give them a shout out. We pull stories from them. We pull stories from StarWarsNewsNet.com. But it says the decrease in retail sales is due to lower comparable store sales, partially offset by an increase in online retail revenue. Lower comparable retail store sales reflected decreased sales of Star Wars and Moana merchandise in the current year, partially offset by higher sales of Mickey and Minnie merchandise. So that's interesting. They're showing that the revenue for the division is down 4% from 2018 to 2017. It's almost 16% between 2018 and 2016. And so, of course, this is leading a lot of people to saying that there's just an oversaturation of lines right now with Marvel in general, but also with Marvel Star Wars. You know, when you start factoring there's Star Wars, then you have, 2 or 3 side, short series going on at any particular time, and then you factor in that you have the IDW sets. I can see how someone could be a little overwhelmed trying to keep up with it all, and I get it. Got a message from a viewer. Enjoy the show. Great to hear. Thank you, Sam. All right, cool. So I can see how you can be overwhelmed by seeing all these Star Wars comics on the shelf and not sure where to go. While there is Star Wars, there's these Age of Republic comics out there right now. You're also having IDW crank out like 2 or 3 runs. We just had we have the Visions of Darth Vader coming out in March, which is going to be like a short miniseries from Marvel, I believe. But then we had like the Tales from Darth Vader's Castle. That was IDW. And so you're just getting all this stuff, and it's a little confusing. And, it's like, well, what's going to be canon, what's not going to be canon? It's all supposed to be canon, so do I have to read it all? But, yeah, if I was a more faithful Marvel customer in the sense that I bought all the other kind of books, I'd have no idea where to go because it's just so many different books, so many different Spider-Man runs in the last 5 years that I'm boggled. And then you throw in the, not just like Peter Parker lines, but now you have Miles Morales lines. And that's only going to be intensified now because of the success, I think, because of Spider-Verse. Like, I love Miles Morales, Spider-Man. Got hooked on that in, 2010, 2011, when he first was a thing. I think he was around earlier, but there's like a renaissance in like 2010, 2011. Got a big poster over here to my side about it. So, would love to know what you guys think about the Marvel sales and the oversaturation, if you think that's really the cause of sales going down, or if you think more people are just going online to buy their comics instead of going to their LCS, which I get it's convenient, but it's a shame because I love the moment when you walk in your local comic book shop and like my buddy Dylan who works there, or like David who's the manager, you walk in and they're instantly like, oh, hey, David, what's up? Glad to see you. How's Quincy? What's your life going like? And they have my books pulled out for me for my pull and hold, and it's just a very friendly, happy atmosphere. And hopefully we get to do a couple live shows here in 2019 to show off our local comic book shop. There is a real charm to it, and I love it. And those guys and girls, Lee, she also is part of this team that makes it such a fun place to visit. And if I live closer, I'm sure I'd be there every Friday night for Friday Night Magic, and I'd be there for all the Destiny tournaments on Saturdays. But it's that kind of like that friendship, that bond you create with those folks and fellow readers and collectors. Like, that's what makes your local comic book shop so fun. So keep supporting that. Definitely worth your time. So that's going to do it for comics right now. Next topic here in Pages, Pixels, Pieces, I wanted to showcase this General Grievous figure that's coming out in the next couple of months. This is the next wave of our Black Series figures, and I've fallen in love with this. We were doing a 3-hour build the other day on on the channel, and I saw these somewhere, and I was like, I've got to share these. I actually think it was StarWarsNewsNet.com that shared these images, and I was losing my mind just because of the detail. I mean, if you look at this figure, are you sure you're not looking at a flash frame from the movie? I love the gritty vibe given to the character. Because, one, I don't like anything in Star Wars looking polished, which was a lot of the prequels, but it's fine. I love the prequels. But this looks like Grievous, like fresh out of battle, clutching all of his sabers. I like the detail. If you look on this is going to be on like kind of towards like the center or like left, but on Grievous's right, on the inside of the cloak, you have the pockets that hold his sabers. And I think a video that I want to do here in the near future for the channel is find out who were the Jedi that he stole those sabers from, and like explore their history, and then like how they all ended up converging to fight Grievous. I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think that would be a lot of fun. So if you're a collector of the figures, which I am, I've got about 15. And if you are a fan of these figures, you should definitely go ahead and check this out. If you have any, wherever you go for your toys, get this bad boy on pre-order right now because it is worth your time to check these out. And the detail is so good. I'm really excited. I'm really excited for the General Kenobi figure. I really like Obi-Wan Kenobi in the clone armor. I don't know. I just think that's really cool. And that's coming out as well. And I think there's a couple of vehicles. I really want to go back. There were a couple of figures where like you could light them up. They were like scenes. Like there's a Kylo Ren, there's a Rey. I was really into it. I was really into that. So let me know in the live chat what you think about this figure. If you're catching this on the rewind, make sure you comment down in the comments below. Do you like this figure? What do you like about it? What do you not like about it? Is there a figure that has been made that you would like to see made? I want to know that. And just let me know. And then what I want to do next week when I have all the guys here is I'll have a full slideshow of all the figures that are set to come out this year. And we'll talk about which ones are our favorite. I think that'd be a lot. I think that would be a lot of fun. Well, right now it's 12:32. We're about halfway through our show. I want to let you know coming up in the next 15 minutes. Actually, it's going to be less than that. It's going to be like in the next 5 minutes. We're going to be talking about 15 ways Disney could make billions of dollars. And that's going to include a lot of fan-requested movies. So I hope that you stick with me for that. I think we are going to have a fun conversation about that. It's also a way to help get the second Vader fan film from Star Wars Theory made. So he talked about how he wants to make a lot more content so that way he can fund this project. I thought, you know what? I didn't have anything for Stash or Blast It this week. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to promote some of what he talked about in his latest video. And then I'm going to have you go over to his channel, check out the full video, and then you're going to let him know that I sent you over there. It's going to be teamwork. Why? Because teamwork makes the dream work. Next topic here on Pages, Pixels, Pieces is Legos. Really excited about this one because we just got, and by we, I mean like all of us fans, just learned there's like this leak that happened. This leak that happened from a German website. And I'm fascinated because I can't read German. In case you didn't know. But I'm really excited about it because we're starting to see some sets branded as 20th anniversary. And that really thrills me because I've been curious for quite some time how Lego was going to celebrate 20 years of Star Wars Legos. And so let me see if I can get this going here and get my script set up. The joys of doing a show for maybe the first time by myself. But we're making through it. We're going to be doing just fine. Going ahead and let's get started. So here's the list of Legos rumored sets for April. The first is Duel at Starkiller Base. That's 7.5. Let's go back here. We're going to start this over. We're going to take a nice deep breath. We're doing this together. We're having a great time on this Monday. But yes, we are going to talk about the rumored the Lego Star Wars sets for April of this year. And they are 7.5, Duel at Starkiller Base, described as a normal set. Action Battle of Endor Lego set. I don't know what Action Battle means. We have a Battle of Hoth Action Battle set that's listed. Von Reg's TIE Interceptor. This is a character from Star Wars Resistance. 7.5, Defend Action Battle Echo Base. We get a 7.5, Black Ace regular set, which is one of the Ace fighters from Star Wars Resistance. We get 7.5, Slave 1 20th edition. This is the UCS model you're seeing on your screen. We get Anakin's Pod Racer, the 20th anniversary edition. That's the original from like 99. I had that set. 7.5, a Snowspeeder set. That's a 20th anniversary edition set. We have another unknown 20th anniversary edition set. Then we get a Clone Scout Walker that you see on your screen. And lastly on this list is Imperial Dropship 7.5, and now we just kind of go ahead and repeat the sets that I just mentioned. I love having that video on the loop, and it gives us a chance to see these different sets. And you might have noticed I listed 3 Battle of Hoth sets when we just got one this past wave, and I think one the wave before that. A lot of Battle of Hoth, and I think it's an easy place to dig stuff out of. I am excited to see Resistance ships make it in there. I feel like we're getting another Slave 1. That seems like a lot. I guess the Pod Racer makes sense. We haven't had one in a while. But we get Snow Speeders, it seems like once every 2-3 years. Getting a lot of Hoth sets. We're getting, the Clone Walker. That's fine, but I'm really surprised that we're not getting any more Clone Wars Lego sets with it being the 10th anniversary. It just seemed like the obvious thing to do with Lego's 20th, the Clone Wars 10th. The series is coming back for Disney streaming with Disney Plus here at the end of 2019, and I'm really surprised that we're not seeing more Clone Wars sets. I'm hoping for an ATTE with a dropship. I wouldn't mind another Republic gunship. I wouldn't mind, what would be funny is if they even went as far back to the Micro Series and they did an Anakin Asajj Ventress duel on Rat Attack. I'd be cool with that. But that's me wishful thinking. I'm trying to think of what other sets that would be so fun. I mean, when you think about that whole saga of the Clone Wars, it would be fun to get some separatists. Like I would like a cool have a capital ship come out. I think that has been released once before, and so has Republic gunship. I could see them coming out with maybe the Republic cruiser, like a Venator class for a UCS maybe. I don't know. This is all just wishful thinking, but I am surprised that of the list that we've seen so far. And of course, this is the rumored list. This is from a German catalog that was released previewing the April sets. I am surprised we didn't get more Clone War sets than just that Walker. So I'm hoping if there's anything that we learn here in the near future, it is some of those sets commemorating the 10th anniversary of that series. What do you think about these lists of potential sets that I rattle off? I think if there's one that catches my curiosity the most, it would be the Kylo Rey duel. The photo that I chose to show was them on Starkiller Base. Duel on Starkiller Base makes sense, right? It'd be kind of cool to get like a couple snow-capped trees and have Kylo and Rey. I wonder if they would have some like playable feature where like the ground would crack in two and separate them. I don't know. That's me kind of dreaming. But we've gotten in the last couple of waves these iconic scenes in Star Wars for like $20 to $40. I think of like the most recent one, the Death Star, where you get Luke and Han. They swing over the caravan, whatever you call that. There's like a platform. There's a space, and they got to swing across it, right? So, they're in the Death Star trying to get away from the stormtroopers, and it's a pretty cost-effective way that they did that. Another one I can think of is the duel on Naboo, where you had Qui-Gon Jinn, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Maul, and it had a little runway for Obi-Wan to be too slow to run on, and then they had the whatever that hole is that Darth Maul goes down. Blanking on the term for that hole. I think it was like I thought that hole went out to space, but I guess it didn't because Darth Maul survived. Anyways, answer to how Darth Maul survived. Clone Wars. Check it out. Let me know what you think about the Legos. Let me know in the live chat, or if you're catching this on the rewind, let me know down in the comments below. Really want to continue the Star Wars conversation with you, and if there's other kinds of Lego content that you'd like to see on our channel, comment down below what you want us to do. It seems that Lego content is really popular with you. It seems like a lot of folks like to check out when we talk Lego Star Wars. So give us some ideas down in the comments below of what we can discuss. And with that, I want to make sure that you know about Rebel Steve. He's a buddy of mine, Steve Hyman. He's also responsible for our graphics. And Steve likes to live stream on the Battlefront 2 on the Twitch. He's been doing this for us since episode 49. We're on episode 53 now, so we're getting some. We're slowly but steadily we're trying to grow that Twitch presence. So be sure you're on the lookout on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. When Steve goes live, you'll be the first to know, as long as you follow us on Facebook Live. And again, one more time, we just want to remind you that this segment and the show is brought to you by the Fantasy Shop in Maplewood, Missouri. Our local comic book shop is our official sponsor. Comics, collectibles, toys, Magic the Gathering, and board games. The Fantasy Shop in St. Louis, proudly serving St. Louis since 1981. Let's go ahead now and dive into Stash It or Blast It this week. And or Stash It or Blast It. I need to go. Yeah, this is right. I'm on the right spot. We're doing okay. Here we go. So what I'm doing for Stash It or Blast It is a little different this week. Star Wars Theory did this video where he lists 15 ways that Disney could make billions of dollars with Star Wars, and the fans would respond. And he listed several. I'm going to pick like my couple, or I don't know. I got 3 here, and then I'll list off a couple others. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is in the live chat right now, I'm actually going to put the link if you guys want to watch that video. And all I'm going to do is if you guys can pull that video up in a separate window and comment on the video that you heard about his video from Beyond the Blast Doors, that would be a huge help. But basically what he's saying is here's 15 ideas for films that you should check out. And he mentions Obi-Wan Kenobi, and he mentions Qui-Gon Jinn, which I'm going to buy because I think it'd be fun to explore more Qui-Gon Jinn training under Count Dooku. I think it'd be fun to see how he meets Obi-Wan Kenobi. I think it would be fun to see him get disenchanted from the Jedi Order. Qui-Gon Jinn had a love of his life at one point too, but he chooses the Jedi Order over her at the last minute. And I think it'd be interesting to see where he conflicts with the Jedi. And then, was he really in line with Dooku on some of their thinkings? That's what Dooku suggests in Attack of the Clones. So I thought that was a really cool theory. He, of course, goes more in depth, but I want you to check out Star Wars Theory's video for your own. The next movie that he suggested was a Count Dooku video. And movie, I should say. I keep saying video, but it's a movie. And it's taking a look at how Dooku was a beloved Jedi and why he was so revered as a master and how he fell out of sync with the Council and he left the Jedi Order. And, personally, I think that you could probably blend this and his Qui-Gon Jinn idea, but I'll buy it as well because I think it's a character that has grown in popularity much because of the Clone Wars. I think the Clone Wars really helped flesh out this character, and of course, he becomes the kind of Sereno after he leaves the Jedi Order, we know, and then, he eventually becomes kind of like the face for the Separatist army, the Separatist movement, and we get so much more adventures with Dooku and seeing how great of a swordsman he was and how he kind of treated Grievous like crap, and how he was really able to manipulate the system, and he was a pawn the entire time. He had no idea that he was getting worked over by Palpatine, because we know, Revenge of the Sith, he's basically just fodder for Anakin. So, Dooku movie. And the third one, and I think this is my favorite, and I think this is a lot of folks' favorite, is seeing a young Palpatine movie. And seeing a young Palpatine grow up, betray his family, at least, if you read the Plagueis novel, you get some insight into what Palpatine was capable of and what he did to his family. And then how does he meet Plagueis? How does he start training with Plagueis? How do they learn about the Force? I think there's a lot of questions now with this latest, Darth Vader number 25 from Charles Soule. I think a lot of people who didn't think that it was possible that the Emperor kind of created life and created Anakin and Shmi Skywalker, I think you could explore that whole concept in that movie, and I think you would get people really invested in it. And if you're thinking, oh, I'd love to see that, but I don't know if that would be good for a theatrical release, I'd probably agree with you. I think it would be better, honestly, for a TV series on Disney+. I think 10 episodes, an hour long. I think you would have a lot of Star Wars fans consuming that content. But if you wanted to, for a sure thing, I agree with Star Wars Theory, this is something that you would get. So I would buy the heck out of that. He also talks about a Grievous movie. He also talks about a Clone Trooper movie. He also talks about an Anakin Skywalker movie, post-Phantom Menace, which the comics have done a fair job of exploring that time period. We had the Obi-Wan and Anakin 5-part issue miniseries from Charles Soule. We get this one-shot with Obi-Wan Kenobi with the Age of Republic comics a couple of weeks ago. We're going to get some pre-Phantom Menace Obi-Wan Qui-Gon Love with Claudia Gray's novel in April. Master and Apprentice novel there. But no, I agree. I think that would be a fun movie to explore, but it gets tricky now, especially because you're not going to have Jake Lloyd, but maybe that would be better for the movie. I don't know. Don't want to slam Jake Lloyd, but it seems like a lot of fans had a problem with his abilities in the movie. The kid was like 9, so I give him a break. I wasn't starring in Star Wars when I was 9. I'm trying to think of any other video. Oh, he did mention a Vader movie, and it was in between like A New Hope and Empire, I think is the movie he pitched. So I posted that link in the live chat, and after this episode ends, I'll be sure to include that link in the comments below as well. Staying on target, I'm going to go to that right now. Here we go. Clicking through the deck here, trying to figure out trigger happy, I guess. But yeah, we're talking about Galaxy's Edge. For staying on target. And it's this idea that Disney is actually increasing the cost to go to the park. And so I want to break down some numbers real quick and then just kind of give you my feedback on it. We'll go to FanColic and we'll be out of here in just a second here. But Disneyland has raised, this is according to CNN, Disneyland has raised ticket prices again because of Galaxy's Edge opening this summer. Now listen to this. The average increase is 8%, right? The company has officially said that. But the one-day adult peak ticket price rose from $135 to $149, while the price of a one-day regular ticket, which blocks out some dates, went from $117 to $129. The price of a one-day value ticket, which blocks out even more dates, rose from $97 to $104. So now, to go to the theme park, to go to Disneyland, and I don't know if this is the case for Disney World, of course, this article that I'm reading from CNN is talking about Disneyland. It's going to cost a family for at least $420 to go into that park. That's insane. And that's not even including food, drink, souvenir. That one-day trip to the park is now becoming basically your vacation. And you get one day, and Johnny, you better make the most of it. I think that is ridiculous. I think Disney World is a little bit more affordable, and I've been told by a lot of people that Disney World is better than Disneyland. I've never been to Disneyland, so if you have any thoughts, let me know in the comments below. But, yeah, I'm just kind of shocked by how much these numbers have gone. It says here the most affordable, and this is limited use, this is a select pass, went from $369 to $399, so with tax more than $400. I don't see how a middle-class family can do this. This isn't a once-a-year thing. This is like a once every couple of years, maybe once every 5 years, or maybe just once in a lifetime. I don't know. But listen to this. The most elite annual premier pass. This combines Walt Disneyland and Walt Disney World admission. Has gone from $1,500, so $1,579 to $1,949. What? I mean, I don't have that money. Do you have that money to go to a theme park and get a package for $2,000? I don't think so. We actually do have a quote here from a spokesperson from, I think this is Disneyland Resort. Yeah. She says, "We continue to provide our guests with a variety of ticket offerings to meet their needs while helping us to spread visitation, better manage demand, and deliver a great experience." I'm going to be honest. I'm really disappointed with the numbers that I read to you and that reaction because it's putting the financial burden on the fan. And, they got to pay for the new theme park some way, I suppose. But is it the best that Disney got Star Wars? Is it the best that they built the Star Wars land? Because I wonder if Disneyland, Disney World is going to start losing its charm. Because, like I mentioned in the comic book sales, Star Wars comics were going down, but like the Mickey and Minnie merchandise was actually going up. It seems like people are going back to like the traditional Disney magic and trying to really experience that because some people might still be struggling with the fact that Disney, when they think Disney, they don't want to think Marvel or Star Wars or National Geographic or whatever. When you think Disney, you want to think of like those core Disney characters. And so I'm interested in seeing. Don't get me wrong. The first day the theme park opens, Galaxy Edge opens, it's going to be flooded. That people are going to spend this money, and the way they get away with this is because while maybe you and I won't spend that money up front to go to this theme park, there's going to be a full theme park full of passionate fans who are willing to, and that's great. I would just ask them to share that money with me. Again, this article is on CNN. I'm going to share this down in the comments below after the episode, so that way you can take a look at it. I do have another quote here. This is from Theme Parks Insider Robert Niles. He's the editor of that website. He says, "Fans absolutely will pay Disneyland's higher prices to experience the new Star Wars lands. Disney has invested heavily in promoting itself as a lifestyle brand, and its dedicated fans won't abandon it over those price increases." Kind of just said that. If anything, people might switch to visiting at less crowded times of the year to escape the highest prices, but that's exactly what Disney wants its fans to do, as it looks to balance attendance levels throughout the year. And that makes sense because there are peak times of the year where the park has overwhelming attendance, and I'm sure it's hard to manage all those people in one place. And of course, with security, the time that we live in, it probably would be less of a stress if they could spread out the crowd over the course of the year. So it seems like a good situation for Disney. I'm excited to figure out what's going to happen. In case you don't remember, this is a 14-acre land they're building called Galaxy's Edge. And they will have, like they had the Millennium Falcon 2 episodes ago. We just previewed 2 of the rides they're going to have. There's a life-size Millennium Falcon that you board, and it's a ride itself. And you're like fighting the First Order. It's insane. And then there's like this other one where you're playing as the First Order, I think, or the Empire. And I think it's as the Empire and the Rebel show. I mean, it's insane. I mean, I'm going, but I'm just not going to pay $1,500 or the $1,900 to do it. Really fascinating article, and I want you to be able to take a look at this. I'll post this link down in the comments below. Let's go ahead now and go to Fan Comment Link. Wrapping up the show, episode 54. Thanks for joining me on this Monday. It's been an absolute blast. If you are enjoying yourself, be sure you click the thumbs up button, hit subscribe if you haven't already, ring the bell so that way when I go live or when we go live for our weekly episode or we drop unique videos, you'll be the first to know. We have one fan question this week, and it comes from Nerf Herder Council podcast. We're asked, how organic do you think Carrie Fisher's parts will feel in episode 9, considering they cobbled her performance together from unused footage? And because of that, will it be as big of a part as some have speculated? Sorry, a two-parter question. Well, no, guys, we don't mind at all when you guys throw in two-part question. That's totally fine. You know, we've talked about this quite a bit over the last couple of years that we've been doing the show, and you know, it's crazy to think it's been 2 years since we lost Carrie Fisher. And that's sad when you think about that. And then when you think about how she's not able to actually portray Leia in this movie, that's sad. And then you think about when this movie premieres, she won't be there. She'll be there in spirit, but she won't physically be there, and that's sad as well. And I think it's valid for some people to have concerns about what this will look like for episode 9, and I think that uncertainty is fueled by some people feel disappointed by Solo. I think it's a great movie. Watched it like 4 times already on Netflix. Some people feel disappointed for The Last Jedi. You know, the movie took risks, and we all feel a certain way about some of those new directions that Rian Johnson tried to go with the Star Wars story. I don't think Leia will have an overwhelming impact in this movie unless she commits like some kind of like sacrifice or like Kylo kills her. I don't know how that's going to work. I think she has a heavy first act presence, but I think that she might be dead by the middle of the movie, Leia, that is, and then you know it's kind of like fuels the flame for Poe and Rey and Finn and all these others to go and defeat the First Order. That's kind of like where I'm going. Is like if the First Order gets defeated by the end of 9 or not. I'm not quite sure. You know, for a while, I really was hoping that Luke would have a very large role as a Force ghost, and we would see him do some very incredible things beyond what we saw Yoda do in 8. You know, there's a story that someone was talking about the other day that we discussed about Luke pulling down a Star Destroyer from space. You know, reminiscent of what Starkiller did in Force Unleashed. I don't think that's going to happen either. I think. I think Disney and the storytelling group and the directors involved have made the conscious decision that this trilogy, while the franchise had the opportunity to return 40 years later with the original cast, it's not their story. And I think we're missing out on a lot of really great story, especially with Luke. But this show is going to kill off the rest of the original core. I don't know if Lando makes it out. I doubt it. I think Chewie probably makes it out with the Falcon. I'm going to be just really sad if the Falcon goes. But going back to your original point, I think there's reason to be concerned. But, you know, if there's enough footage for JJ to include this in the story with Chris Terrio, if they're able to write this in right, and they're able to use all this previously unused footage, and then they can, you know, edit what she said and maybe even add in lines, maybe it'll work. We just heard from Carrie Fisher's brother a couple of weeks ago about his confidence about, how they've treated Leia in the script and the footage that they've assembled to incorporate Leia. I think there's going to be a stand-in actress for some of these shots to do, like, shots from, behind, so you see, like, the back of the head and stuff, and, like, nodding. Maybe they cheat it that way. I have absolutely no idea. I can't imagine anything they do would be better than having the real-life Carrie Fisher on set. That's just how I feel. But I'm going to give JJ complete benefit of the doubt until I see the movie, because I really do enjoy what he did with The Force Awakens. The more I watch that movie, the more I'm like filled with this like hope of where the future is going. Unfortunately, the hope that I get from that movie doesn't kind of play out in The Last Jedi, but I'm excited to see what JJ has in store for Leia, and it's a fitting end. That's all I want, is that Carrie have like a really cool, that Leia have a really cool moment in 9. I would think it would have more emotional gravitas than like action. I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know. Did she kill Kylo? I cannot see that happening. It's gonna be Rey and Kylo dueling at least once in the movie. But maybe there's a confrontation there. I would enjoy that. I would enjoy a confrontation with her and Kylo. I just don't know how they would do that. But that's why I'm sitting here talking on YouTube about Star Wars. And J.J. Abrams and Chris Terrio actually wrote the script and are on set right now shooting the movie. And J.J.'s going to be shooting that movie for at least another month or so. So it'll be interesting to see. I'm convinced that I want to believe that we'll get some footage Super Bowl weekend. But now I'm starting to wonder if we don't get anything until Star Wars Celebration, which I have tickets to go. But I was really hoping that we would have some video by the end of February. Still very much possible, but knowing that production probably doesn't wrap up until like mid to late February, it makes me skeptical. And keeping in mind that Mark Hamill has really shot the bulk of his stuff here in the new year. He said that back in December that most of his stuff wasn't until January. So we'll see how all that pans out. But Nerf Herder Council, thank you so much for asking that question to me and the guys. And sorry that they couldn't be here. It was just, the situation was that, we have had all the snow. They didn't feel safe coming over here yesterday to do the regularly scheduled episode. So I said, guys, it's better be safe than sorry. You stay over there. I'll do the show by myself. So really appreciate you guys hanging out with me with the live stream. I know this is an odd time to do the show, but I thought it was best that I still do the show live. I'll do it this morning, and then I hope that you can help me out and spread the word about the episode. And, hey, David did a one-man show, and I think I did pretty well for the first time, and I'll get better and better the more I do it. But hopefully, more often than not, it's still me, David, and Jesse doing the shows together, because that's the most fun, is when we're all together. Before I do let you go, I want to let you know Taylor Garrett, he makes these cosplay helmets, and I'm really excited. He's going to let us have the one on the left, the First Order Stormtrooper. This is the Finn helmet with the blood fingertips, the finger markings. It looks insane, and we're meeting up this Friday. He's going to give me that, and that's going to become the new centerpiece for the Beyond the Blast Door set. I'm pretty excited. I'm trying to get him to just let me have the Death Trooper helmet on the right, but that's probably not going to happen. But go find him on Twitter. He is very talented, and he's a proud supporter of our show. And it just turns out that his brother is my branding consultant. So there you go. Episode 54 is in the books, and I just want to say thank you so much for joining me. This is, I think, the first time I've done a solo episode for Beyond the Blast Doors by myself. And it just means the world that you stayed with me. It means the world that you're watching right now. It means the world that you'll share this episode with friends. We've had like an incredible week on the channel. We've done Lego builds. We've done Saber reviews. We've had full episodes. We've had theory. We've had canon deep dive. And so, for a while we thought we just wanted to be the show and just show up. But, is that what you want? Do you want us to just be the show, or do you like the variety of things that we do? It's a challenge, and the only way we can make that decision is if you let us know. There was a period of time where we're like, all we're going to do is the weekly episode, and we'll promote that episode, and we'll promote the next episode. But, you know, we had a lot of fun doing the Legos, doing the comic books, exploring the canon, and having that conversation with you. So if you like all that stuff, be sure you let us know down in the comments below. And the best way to follow us, as always, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. It's where we're at. We're posting on there daily. Facebook and Twitter. Facebook, it's almost hourly between the articles, the breaking news, the memes, updates with the show. So check us out at BTBD Star Wars, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. One more time, the show sponsored by the Fantasy Shop in St. Louis. Our good friends over at the Maplewood Fantasy Shop. They have everything that you could possibly want. They've got the comics, the collectibles, the toys, Magic the Gathering, and board games. Fantasy Shop in St. Louis, proudly serving St. Louis since 1981. I've been talking this entire time. I've had one drink of water. It has been an absolute blast. Episode 54 on this Monday, January 14th. I hope that you have a great rest of your Monday, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you for watching Beyond the Blast Doors. Be sure to subscribe to our channel. Don't forget, give us a thumbs up and leave a comment. Beyond the Blast Doors, a Star Wars conversation.